waiting to sit down and talk to him one-on-one, seeing what his mental at. Whatever he want to do, I just prepare him for it mentally, you know what I'm saying?
Gervonta, Tank Davis, and Calvin Ford share a story that is nothing short of remarkable. Their relationship, forged in the difficult streets of Baltimore, has been one filled with struggle, wins, loyalty, and above all, mutual respect. Calvin Ford didn't just train Gervonta to be a world-class boxer. He acted as a father figure when Davis needed it most. Together, they have climbed to the pinnacle of boxing, conquering numerous challenges along the way. But as Gervonta Davis moves into a new phase of his career, he has made the difficult decision to part ways with Ford professionally, ending a relationship that has been central to his journey.
I think I got
You know how they always say, be careful what you ask for, because you might get it.
Get it?
Now, Tank's announcement sure is surprising, especially because of how closely these two had worked over the years. However, with Leonard Ellerbe in charge now, things seem to be taking a different direction for Tank. Tank refused to collaborate with the Saudis, which again doesn't surprise considering he has always wanted to choose his own path. But with the future in his hands and in the hands of Ellerbe, well, we might just be getting surprises, from his fight with Roach and even the situation now with Ford. However, Davis did not just let go of Ford like just any other trainer.
Who do you want to see? You, as a guy that's in his trainer, that's like a father figure to him, you're training him all the time, you know him, both y'all from the streets of Baltimore the whole bit. Who do you want to see Tank fight next?
I want him to get all of them that ran their mouth.
He has credited Calvin Ford for more than just his success in the ring. He's talked about how Ford kept him away from bad influences, steered him out of trouble, and provided the structure and discipline that his early life lacked. Ford, in turn, has always described Davis as more than just a fighter under his guidance. He's always seen him as a son. Despite this deep bond, Davis explained in his statement that this decision isn't about burning bridges or leaving behind someone he owes so much to. Instead, it's about growth and the need to transition into a new team, one that can help him navigate the next stage of his career.
Watch this show and sit there and say to themselves like they came from a karate movie, man, I want to fight just like Tank. I want to be just like Tank.
But perhaps this story has a deeper root. Gervonta Davis was born in Baltimore, a city known for poverty, crime, and substances. Like many young people growing up in tough neighborhoods, Davis was exposed to a world that could have swallowed him whole. His parents struggled with substance abuse, and his home life was unstable. Without a solid foundation, it would have been easy for him to get caught up in the cycle of violence and addiction that defined the streets around him. But then Calvin Ford entered his life.
Tank was the first one in the gym, the last one out the gym. Tank used to sit on the ring like this and watch me train him.
How old is he at this point?
He was like 7, 8.
Okay.
A lot of stuff that I was giving my son was giving it to Tank. So it was a perfect fit. Tank was like the family. You know?
As Davis explains, Ford wasn't your typical boxing trainer. His own past was filled with the kinds of hardships Gervonta was dealing with. He had been involved in substance dealing and spent time in prison. But Ford turned his life around and became a mentor for young kids in Baltimore, teaching them the art of boxing and, more importantly, how to stay away from the streets. Ford saw potential in Davis early on. Like he said, I could see it from the first time he came into the gym. He had something special.
I'm looking for this sin because, you know, people don't understand being in that situation, coming back out, I had to make this transition back and whatnot, and a lot of things going on, a lot of thoughts, a lot of time. You know, it's like a think camp when you're in that situation. So I'm just looking forward, just sitting in front of him and see where he at. You know, I always say God don't make no mistakes, so I know it's part of the process, part of the plan for the bigger.
But Gervonta didn't just need a trainer. He needed someone to keep him away from the destructive paths that so many in his neighborhood were going down. Ford stepped in and filled that role, becoming a father figure to Davis. He kept him focused on boxing, ensuring that Davis spent more time in the gym than on the streets. Together, they battled the substances that threatened to pull Davis away from his potential. Ford's tough love and relentless belief in Davis kept him on track, pushing him to become the fighter he is today.
You know, Calvin, he been with me since I was 7. I used to sleep in Coach Calvin's house. I used to sleep at his job when he was working at a seafood restaurant.
Under Calvin Ford's guidance, Gervonta Davis turned professional in 2013, and it didn't take long for the world to notice his incredible knockout power. Davis quickly built a reputation as a knockout artist, devastating his opponents with his lightning-fast hands and sheer punching power. Every time he stepped into the ring, it seemed like his fights were over before they started. This was largely due to the training and guidance Ford provided. Ford helped Davis perfect his natural talent, working on his defense, speed, and timing. "Tanks have something you can't teach," Ford said in an interview, "but I made sure he knew how to use it." Together, they built a strategy that allowed Davis to overwhelm his opponents with pressure and power, leading to his incredible record of 30 wins with 28 knockouts today.
One hand, he came in the corner at the 6th round and said, "My hand is hurting." And if you look at the tape, I said, "Man, I don't want to hear that. Fight through it." And he done it. Y'all got to give this young man his props.
As Gervonta Davis's career took off, another figure entered the scene, Leonard Ellerbe, former CEO of Mayweather Promotions. Ellerbe is one of the most influential figures in boxing, having been a key part of Floyd Mayweather's rise to superstardom. As Davis's career blossomed, Ellerbe took on a more prominent role, guiding him not just as a fighter, but as a brand. Ellerbe's influence on Davis has been growing for years. He has been instrumental in helping Davis navigate the business side of boxing, making sure that he secures the biggest fights and maximizes his earning potential. This shift in focus, from just fighting to also thinking about the business, marked a new phase in Davis's career. And while Ford had always been there for Davis as a trainer and mentor, this business-first approach sometimes clashed with his more traditional methods.
Or Lomachenko next. Do you see that kind of a fight happening for Tank?
All these guys who you guys say are the top guys out there, Tank gonna get every one of these guys. He just can't fight them all in one night.
As Ellerbe puts it, Tank is the future of boxing, and we're building something special. He's got the talent, the charisma, and the drive to be one of the biggest stars in the sport. And perhaps it's this future that Ellerbe sees causing Tank to make the decision with Ford. The decision was not one made lightly, and Davis made it clear that this wasn't about a lack of appreciation for what Ford had done. Instead, as Tank puts it, it was about the need for a new team to help him transition into the next phase of his career.
Tank is the best fighter in the world. Tank's the best fighter in the world. And his team's been saying it.
In his statement, Davis said, "I want to thank Calvin for everything. I wouldn't be here without him, but I'm at a point in my career where I need to move forward. I need to surround myself with a team that can help me get to the next level. This isn't about disrespect. Calvin will always be like a father to me, but I have to make decisions that are best for my future." Davis was clear that this was not the end of their personal relationship. "Calvin will always be in my life. He's more than a trainer to me, and I owe him everything. But boxing is a business, and I need to make sure I'm doing what's best for my career." As Davis moves forward, Leonard Ellerbe has taken on an even bigger role in managing his career. Ellerbe's focus on branding, pay-per-view sales, and global recognition is pushing Davis into new territory. The decision to bring in a new team is all part of Davis's evolution as a fighter and a businessman.
Gotcha. Yeah. I was just about to ask, like you said, contracts don't define relationships. How's the relationship with you and Tank, with Floyd and Tank, and the list goes on?
Great.
Yeah.
Ellerbe's influence is undeniable. "Tank is in a unique position," Ellerbe said. "He's already a star, but we're just getting started. The sky's the limit for him, and we're building something that's going to change the sport." This level of ambition is what has driven the decision to restructure Davis's team. While the decision to end the contract was hard, Calvin Ford has taken it in stride. In interviews, he has expressed nothing but love for Davis.
Damn.
I don't hear Tank as the day. I hear Tank as that little boy. Believe in me, coach. And he came in the gym one day and he said, "Coach, I seen it." I said, "What you seen?" "I had all the belts on me." He said, "I'm gonna be that dude." The rest is history.
Damn, I got goosebumps low-key. That's gotta.
"I've been with Tank since he was a kid. I'll always be there for him," Ford said. "He's a grown man now and he's got to make his own decisions. I respect that. We're family, and nothing's gonna change that." Ford has been through it all with Davis, from the streets of Baltimore to the world stage. While their professional relationship may be changing, the personal bond remains unbreakable. Ford has said that he will continue to support Davis no matter what. "I'll always be proud of him. He's like a son to me, and I'll always be in his corner, whether I'm there in the ring or not.
Remember Calvin used to fuss at the guys that was coming up with me, and they was in the streets a lot. He was telling them, like, you can't have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. You gotta be, like, all the way in it.
As Gervonta Davis moves into this new phase of his career, the possibilities are endless. He's already established himself as one of the most exciting fighters in the sport, but with Leonard Ellerbe's guidance, he's set to become a global superstar. The decision to part ways with Calvin Ford marks the end of an era, but it's also the beginning of a new chapter. Davis's focus now is on building a team that can help him navigate the business side of boxing while still allowing him to dominate in the ring. With Ellerbe's influence and the potential for new trainers, Davis is positioning himself for even bigger fights, more pay-per-view events, and perhaps more world titles. However, even as this happens, there are some interesting details we can't leave behind. Ford's departure comes after some interesting comments he made about Tank, and people are starting to speculate that there is more than just a warm, respectful exit. Apparently, Calvin Ford recently said that he doesn't like Tank's knockouts. It's quite shocking to learn that Calvin Ford, Gervonta Davis's longtime trainer, doesn't exactly appreciate the sight of his fighter knocking out opponents. For a coach, you'd think watching your athlete consistently destroy challengers would be a proud moment. But for Ford, knockouts carry a strange weight, something darker. His comments have stirred up controversy, making people question whether his disapproval is one of the underlying reasons behind the growing distance between him and Gervonta Davis.
There's a right hand stepping back the head of Gervonta. Oh, down goes Santa Cruz on a vicious left uppercut, and he's out. Gervonta Davis.
In an interview with T-Bose, Calvin Ford revealed that, despite the hype around Gervonta's knockouts, he actually doesn't enjoy them at all. In fact, Ford admitted, "I don't like knockouts, I like punishment." For someone whose star fighter has made a name by delivering knockout after knockout, this is a strange statement to make. It's almost as if Ford is going against the very thing that has made Gervonta a huge draw in boxing. What's even more interesting is that Ford shared an anecdote from when Gervonta was young, where a sparring session ended quickly after Davis hit his opponent with one solid punch. Ford recalled that Gervonta looked at his hands in disbelief, while Ford was left with a sense of unease. "Man, he hit that dude one time, boom, dropped. He looked at his hands, looked at me, I said, oh my God."
The nickname Tank go about, like, because I was thinking, does he hit like a tank, or is it like he's built like a tank?
Nah, when he was little, he had a big ass head.
This aversion to knockouts seems to stem from Ford's old-school mentality, where the goal of boxing was not just to win, but to dish out punishment over the long haul. For Ford, there's a sense of satisfaction in watching an opponent endure a long, grueling fight where they take heavy punishment. "I like punishment," Ford explained. "I want them to say, man, Tank punished me. That's what I want to hear." He even likened his approach to the psychological torment inflicted by the Joker, a notorious villain who delights in others' suffering. Ford seems to have developed a personal philosophy where knockouts rob him of the satisfaction of seeing opponents truly suffer.
June the 15th. And at this time, we do want to acknowledge Tank Davis's trainer. Again, you get a chance to have some one-on-ones with him later, but we do want to acknowledge him, Calvin Ford. Welcome, Calvin. And now we introduce one of the greats in boxing today. You've heard from Leonard Ellerbe explaining why. It's certainly true. His record 29-0 with 20.
This attitude may explain some of the friction between Ford and Gervonta. As much as Ford has helped shape Davis into the knockout machine he is today, this difference in philosophy could be driving them apart. Gervonta, a fighter known for his explosive power and ability to end fights early, might not share the same mindset as Ford when it comes to punishing his opponents. For Gervonta, the knockout is the ultimate goal, an emphatic, decisive victory that leaves no room for doubt. Yet for Ford, every knockout means one less opportunity to see an opponent truly broken.
Where do you see Tank ending his career? What weight division?
Well, right now, he might can go all the way up to, I would say 147.
147?
147.
And since we're at 140...
This disconnect raises the question of whether Ford's disapproval of knockouts has played a part in Gervonta's decision to distance himself from his mentor. After all, Davis has been making waves recently with his moves toward forming a new team, signaling that he's ready to transition to a different phase in his career. Some say it's about surrounding himself with fresh talent and minds that match his vision, while others speculate that Ford's unusual stance on knockouts may be pushing the two apart.
What's your best Tank story?
My best Tank story? Oh, when we used to go on the Nationals, he used to get in their room and pour water. He still do that too. Pour water on them and run out the room while they sleep. I take all the kids to the Nationals. And he used to get in your room. And while you sleep, he'll come in there and pour water on you and run out the room. Like, yo, how you get in that room? You know, that's my best one.
In recent months, there's been increasing speculation about Gervonta's dissatisfaction with his current team setup, especially as Leonard Ellerbe has begun taking a more prominent role in managing his career. Ellerbe, a close associate of Floyd Mayweather and someone who clearly values the business side of boxing, has been pulling the strings behind Gervonta's big money fights. It's no secret that Ellerbe knows the financial value of an undefeated knockout artist, and this emphasis on knockouts could be at odds with Ford's preference for long, drawn-out battles. Could Gervonta's desire to align more with Ellerbe's knockout-driven strategy be contributing to his decision to part ways with Calvin Ford?
I'm very, very confident Tank beats all those guys. All those guys. You name, any of them you name, Tank can beat them.
Where would a fight with like a Devin Haney or a Teofimo Lopez sort of sit on the grand scheme of his schedule?
I don't think that you can put a timeline on that kind of stuff because the big fights happen when they really make sense for both sides. And, you know, I know the fans get a little impatient at times, and that's understandable because they don't really understand how the business goes, you know.
Ford's stance might seem like a philosophical disagreement, but when you look deeper, it becomes clear that this is about much more than just knockouts. It's about control and the direction of Gervonta's career. Ford has been a father figure to Davis, guiding him through the rough streets of Baltimore and helping him overcome personal struggles with substance abuse. Together, they've fought battles that extend far beyond the boxing ring, but now, as Gervonta's career enters a new chapter, it seems like the bond that once held them together might be fraying.
Garcia down for the second time in the fight. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This one's over.
As Gervonta transitions to a new team, he expresses nothing but gratitude toward Ford, saying, "I will always be thankful for everything Calvin has done for me. He's like a father to me. But now I'm transitioning, and I need a better team around me." While these words are respectful, there's an underlying message. Gervonta is ready to move on. For him, it's about building a team that will help him become not just a knockout artist, but a global superstar. And while Ford's old-school mentality has served him well up to this point, Gervonta might be looking for something more modern, more aligned with the fast-paced world of boxing today. The timing of this shift couldn't be more interesting, as it comes on the heels of Leonard Ellerbe's increased involvement in Gervonta's career. With Ellerbe at the lead, the focus is clearly on maximizing Gervonta's earning potential and brand value, both of which are closely tied to his knockout power. Ellerbe understands the business side of the sport better than most, and his influence could be pushing Gervonta to surround himself with a team that shares this vision. After all, knockouts sell tickets, and in today's entertainment-driven world of boxing, that's what matters most. Ford, on the other hand, seems to have a more purist view of the sport. For him, it's about the art of boxing, about the technical mastery and mental toughness that come with enduring a long fight. But in a world where fighters are judged by their ability to deliver highlight reel knockouts, Ford's views might be seen as outdated, especially by someone like Gervonta, who is hungry for both success and fame.
What message do you think that this sends to guys like Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney, who've been rumored to want to fight against Tank Davis?
All good fighters. All those guys are good fighters, but none of them can fuck with Tank.
Period.
None of them. None of them.
There's also the question of whether Ford's influence is holding Gervonta back. While it's undeniable that Ford has played a big role in shaping Davis's career, there's always the possibility that Gervonta feels he's outgrown his mentor. As he moves into the next phase of his career, surrounded by big names and even bigger opportunities, Gervonta might see Calvin Ford as a relic of his past, someone who helped him get to where he is today, but who might not be equipped to take him to the next level. Ultimately, this growing rift between Gervonta and Calvin Ford raises an important question about the balance between loyalty and ambition. On one hand, Gervonta owes much of his success to Ford's guidance and mentorship. On the other hand, as his career evolves, he might feel the need to surround himself with people who share his vision for the future, and if Ford's disdain for knockouts is any indication, it seems that their visions might no longer align. This could very well be one of the reasons why Gervonta is slowly distancing himself from his longtime trainer. The philosophical differences are clear, and as Gervonta continues to rise in the world of boxing, it seems inevitable that he will need a team that fully supports his knockout-driven strategy. Calvin Ford, with his old-school mentality and preference for punishment over knockouts, might no longer fit into Gervonta's plans for the future, but that's just one of the many holes we could look at for now. As time goes by, we're sure more will be uncovered, and if it does, we'll be here to update you. But what do you think Tank's future will look like after the fight with Roach? Share your thoughts below, and make sure you hit that like and subscribe button for more updates. See you in the next one.